In recent times, the global conversation about alliances, national interests, and the responsibilities of major powers has become more intense and complex. The United States, as a central figure in international relations, has often found itself at the heart of these debates. Recent remarks by former President Donald Trump, along with responses from leaders in Germany and Australia, have brought these issues into sharper focus, prompting renewed discussion about what it means to be an ally in a world that is rapidly changing. For many decades, the United States has played a leading role in international alliances such as NATO, providing military, economic, and diplomatic support to partner nations. This approach was based on the belief that a stable, rules-based international order served not only American interests, but also those of its allies and the broader global community. However, in recent years, there has been a noticeable shift in American foreign policy, with a growing emphasis on prioritizing national interests over collective action. This shift has been particularly evident in the rhetoric and policies of Donald Trump, who has argued that the United States should not be expected to bear the burden of defending other countries unless those nations are willing to contribute meaningfully to shared security objectives. This perspective has resonated with many Americans who feel that the country has, at times, sacrificed its own interests for the sake of international commitments. The debate over burden sharing came to the forefront following comments by Germany's defense chief, Boris Pistorius. Pistorius had criticized the ongoing conflict involving Iran, suggesting that it was not Germany's war to fight. In response, Trump questioned why the United States should be expected to intervene in conflicts that do not directly affect its own security or prosperity. Trump's remarks highlighted a fundamental question. Should the United States continue to act as the world's policeman, or should it focus more narrowly on its own interests? He argued that, just as Germany and other nations act in their own best interests, so too should America. Trump pointed out that, for many years, the U.S. often prioritized the needs of its allies, sometimes at the expense of its own citizens. He suggested that this approach is no longer sustainable or desirable. This exchange reflects a broader trend in international relations, where countries are increasingly reassessing their roles and responsibilities within alliances. The expectation that the United States will always step in to resolve global crises is being challenged, both by American leaders and by the public. The conversation also turned to Australia, another long-standing U.S. ally. Trump expressed disappointment with what he perceived as a lack of support from Australia, noting that the country had not been consulted before certain U.S. actions were taken. Australian officials responded by emphasizing the close bond between the two nations and clarifying that Australia had not received any requests for assistance that had not already been agreed upon. This exchange underscores the complexities of alliance management. While the U.S. and Australia share a deep and enduring partnership, differences can arise over specific policies or actions. The question of consultation, whether allies should be informed or involved in decision-making before major actions are taken, remains a point of contention in many international relationships. The debate over burden sharing and consultation is not new. During the Cold War, many U.S. allies maintained significant military capabilities and were able to contribute meaningfully to collective defense efforts. Today, however, the situation is more complicated. Some allies have reduced their military spending or shifted their focus to other priorities, making it more challenging to coordinate joint operations or respond quickly to emerging threats. One commentator noted that, in the past, it was common for allied nations to have ships or other military assets ready to deploy on short notice. Now, it is less clear which allies are able or willing to provide rapid and meaningful support in regions like the Persian Gulf. This reality has prompted some American leaders to question the value of certain alliances and to advocate for a more transactional approach to international cooperation. The role of the media in shaping public perception of foreign policy decisions has also come under scrutiny. In one notable incident, CNN initially dismissed the idea that there were ongoing talks between the US and Iran, only to later report, based on a senior Iranian source, that outreach had indeed occurred, reportedly initiated by Washington. This reversal fueled skepticism about the reliability of mainstream media reporting and highlighted the challenges of covering complex, rapidly evolving international events. The incident also raised questions about the sources of information used by major news organizations and the potential for confusion or misinformation. In an era of instant communication and social media, the speed at which news spreads can sometimes outpace the ability to verify facts or provide context. This dynamic can contribute to public distrust and make it more difficult for citizens to form informed opinions about foreign policy issues. At the heart of the current debate is the question of whose interests should guide American foreign policy. Trump and his supporters argue that the United States should prioritize its own interests above those of other countries. They contend that, for too long, America has shouldered the burden of defending the world, often without sufficient support or appreciation from its allies. This perspective is not universally shared. Critics argue that a narrow focus on national interests can undermine global stability and erode the trust that underpins international alliances. They warn that retreating from global leadership could create a vacuum that other powers, such as China or Russia, might seek to fill. Nevertheless, the idea of America First has gained traction among many Americans, particularly those who feel that the country's resources should be directed toward domestic priorities. This sentiment has influenced not only the rhetoric of political leaders, but also the policies pursued by the U.S. government in recent years. The debate over America's role in the world is part of a broader shift in the international system. As new powers emerge and long-standing alliances are tested, the rules of global engagement are being rewritten. The United States remains a dominant force, but its willingness to act unilaterally or to bear disproportionate costs for collective security is increasingly in question. This shift has implications for the future of organizations like NATO, as well as for bilateral relationships with countries such as Germany and Australia. As nations reassess their own interests and capabilities, the nature of cooperation is evolving. Some analysts predict that future alliances will be more flexible and issue-specific, rather than based on broad, open-ended commitments. Effective alliances depend on clear communication and mutual trust. When partners feel excluded from decision-making or perceive that their interests are being ignored, tensions can arise. The recent exchanges between US, German, and Australian leaders illustrate the challenges of maintaining strong partnerships in a complex and rapidly changing world. Consultation and transparency are key to building and sustaining trust among allies. While it may not always be possible to achieve complete agreement on every issue, open dialogue can help to manage differences and prevent misunderstandings. As the international system becomes more multipolar, the ability to coordinate and cooperate will be increasingly important. Public opinion plays a significant role in shaping foreign policy decisions. In democratic societies, leaders are accountable to their citizens and must consider the views and preferences of the electorate. The debate over America's role in the world reflects broader societal trends, including concerns about economic security, national identity, and the costs of international engagement. Polling data suggests that many Americans support a more restrained approach to foreign policy, favoring diplomacy and economic engagement over military intervention. At the same time, there is recognition that the U.S. cannot completely withdraw from global affairs without risking its own security and prosperity. Striking the right balance between engagement and restraint is a central challenge for policymakers. History offers important lessons about the risks and rewards of different approaches to international relations. The post-World War II era was characterized by American leadership and the creation of institutions designed to promote peace and stability. While this system has faced challenges, it has also contributed to decades of relative prosperity and security. At the same time, there have been periods when the U.S. has chosen to focus inward, with mixed results. The debate over isolationism versus internationalism is as old as the Republic itself, and each generation must grapple with the question of how best to protect and advance American interests in a changing world. As the global landscape continues to evolve, the future of alliances and international cooperation remains uncertain. The United States will continue to play a central role, but the nature of its engagement may change. Some experts predict a move toward more flexible, ad hoc coalitions that can respond to specific challenges as they arise. Others argue that traditional alliances like NATO will remain essential, particularly in the face of emerging threats such as cyber attacks, terrorism, and the proliferation of weapons of mass destruction. The ability to adapt and innovate will be critical to ensuring that alliances remain relevant and effective. The recent debate over alliances, national interests, and America's role in the world reflects broader changes in the international system. As countries reassess their priorities and capabilities, the rules of global engagement are being rewritten. The United States remains a key player, but its approach to leadership and cooperation is evolving. The conversations between American, German, and Australian leaders highlight the challenges and opportunities of this new era. As the world becomes more complex and interconnected, the need for clear communication, mutual trust, and shared responsibility will only grow. Ultimately, the path forward will depend on the ability of nations to balance their own interests with the demands of a rapidly changing world. Whether through traditional alliances or new forms of cooperation, the goal remains the same: to promote peace, security, and prosperity for all. The ongoing discussions and debates among leaders and policymakers are a testament to the enduring importance of these issues. As the international community navigates this period of transition, the choices made today will shape the future of global relations for years to come. The United States, with its vast resources and global influence, will continue to be a central actor in shaping the world order. However, the nature of its engagement, how it chooses to lead, whom it chooses to partner with, and what priorities it sets, will be determined by a complex interplay of domestic and international factors. The voices of citizens, the perspectives of allies, and the realities of a changing world will all play a role in shaping the next chapter of American foreign policy. As new challenges emerge, from technological innovation to climate change to shifting economic dynamics, the need for cooperation and collaboration will only increase. The lessons of history remind us that no nation can address these challenges alone. The strength of alliances, the resilience of institutions, and the commitment to shared values will be essential in building a more stable and prosperous future. In conclusion, the recent debates and discussions about alliances, national interests, and America's role in the world are part of a larger story of change and adaptation. The questions being asked today about burden sharing, consultation, and the balance between national and collective interests are not new, but they are more urgent than ever. As the world continues to evolve, the answers to these questions will shape the course of international relations for generations to come. The journey toward a more peaceful and cooperative world is ongoing, and the choices made by leaders and citizens alike will determine the path forward.